May 15, 1943. Somewhere west of Kansas, 20-year-old Feldwebel Vera Hartmann presses his face against the train window. He's been traveling for 3 days since leaving Camp Shanks in New York. 3 days watching America roll past. 3 days trying to understand what he's seeing. The train slows at another dusty station, Amarillo, Texas. On the platform, a man in leather chaps and a wide-brimmed hat watches the train. A real cowboy, not a propaganda poster, not a Hollywood actor, an actual American cowboy rolling a cigarette, squinting in the desert Sunday. Hartmann and 499 other German prisoners of war are about to enter a world that Josef Goebbels insisted didn't exist. They were Afrika Korps soldiers, mostly captured at Kasserine Pass, Tunis, Sicily. Men who'd fought under Rommel. Men who'd expected to die in the desert, different outcome. The Nazi propaganda machine had told them exactly what to expect from American captivity. Barbarism, torture. The uncultured mongrels of the New World would treat them like animals. After all, Americans were soft, decadent cowboys and gangsters, a nation of mixed races without culture or honor. The first shock had come on the transport ships. White bread, real coffee, 3 hot meals a day, more food than German soldiers had seen in months, the same rations American soldiers received as required by the Geneva Convention. Now, as the train carries them deeper into Texas, the contradictions multiply. Through the windows, they see endless farmland, herds of cattle that stretch to the horizon, oil derricks pumping black gold, towns with electric lights, paved roads, automobiles everywhere. One prisoner will later write to his family, "The Americans have so much of everything they even share it with their enemies." Camp Hearn, Texas, 30 miles northwest of Houston, built for 4,800 prisoners. Reality, a small American town dropped in the middle of cotton country. The buses from the train station drive through the main gate. The Germans expect machine gun towers, attack dogs, brutal guards. Instead, they find barracks with electricity and indoor plumbing, hot showers, flush toilets, things many of them didn't have in Germany. The camp commander addresses them through a translator. The rules are simple: work 8 hours a day, follow regulations, cause no trouble. In return, 3 substantial meals daily, wages of 80 cents per day in camp script, canteen privileges. Recreation, mail from home. Untraitor, Friedrich Becker can't process what he's hearing. Wages, they're going to pay prisoners the same rate as American privates who earn $50 a month. The next morning, they meet their work supervisors, not soldiers, ranchers, cotton farmers, cattlemen, men in worn denim and leather boots, men who need hands for the harvest. The American agricultural system is feeding half the free world, but American boys are fighting in Italy, preparing for France. Texas cotton fields stretch for thousands of acres. Without workers, it will rot in the fields. The Germans are the answer to every farmer's prayer. A rancher named John Davidson looks over the group of prisoners. He needs 40 men for his cotton fields. He points at the biggest, strongest Germans. Then he does something that stops everyone cold. He walks over, extends his hand, and introduces himself. In Texas, he explains through a translator. Men shake hands before working together. Oberfeldwebel Wilhelm Miller stares at the extended hand. 6 months ago, he was fighting Americans in Tunisia. Now, one wants to shake his hand like an equal. He takes it. Davidson's grip is firm, calloused, a working man's hand. The cotton fields of Brazos County stretch for miles under the Texas Sunday. The work is brutal. Bent backs, bleeding fingers, 100-pound sacks. But something extraordinary happens in those fields. The German prisoners work alongside Mexican migrant workers, black sharecroppers, poor white tenant farmers. The racial hierarchy the Nazis preached crumbles under the Texas Sunday. Everyone sweats the same. Everyone's back aches the same. Everyone drinks from the same water bucket. At noon, Rosa Martinez, the ranch cook, rings the dinner bell. The prisoners expect bread and water. Instead, beef stew, cornbread, sweet tea, apple pie. Rosa doesn't speak German. The prisoners don't speak Spanish, but she ladles extra portions onto their plates and smiles. Food is a universal language. Vera Hartmann will remember this meal for the rest of his life, not because of the food, but because a Mexican woman treats German prisoners with the same kindness she shows everyone else. The Third Reich said this was impossible. The Third Reich was wrong. Saturday night, Camp Herne. The recreation hall fills with music, not military marches, not Nazi anthems. Bob Wills and his Texas Playboys on the radio. Western swing, the sound of America in 1943. After Italy switched sides in September 1943, Italian POWs gained more freedoms. They could attend local dances, chaperoned and supervised. German prisoners watched with envy. Some camps later allowed carefully monitored social events. Always supervised, always controlled, but still a slice of normalcy in wartime. The prisoners form bands, learn American songs, some write new ones. A strange fusion of German folk melodies and Western swing music that exists nowhere else in the world. The letters home create their own crisis. What can they write? How can they describe this to families suffering through Allied bombing, to mothers standing in ration lines, to wives who haven't seen meat in months? Friedrich Becker writes to his wife in Hamburg, "The Americans are not what we were told. They have given us warm clothes and good boots. We eat meat every day. I am saving my wages. When I come home, we will have money." He doesn't mention the abundance that surrounds him, the cars every farmer owns, the electric lights burning all night, the stores packed with goods. How could he? She wouldn't believe him. The censors wouldn't let it through anyway. Camp Milan near Amarillo. Here, the cowboys aren't metaphorical. They're real, and they need help with thousands of head of cattle. The rancher, Thomas Anderson, surveys his new workers, Luftwaffe pilots, panzer crews, U-boat sailors. Not one has ever seen a cow up close. He sighs. This is going to be interesting. He starts with the basics. How to approach a horse. How to hold a rope. How not to get kicked, bitten, or trampled. The Germans are terrified of the animals. The animals are suspicious of the Germans. It's mutual distrust at first sight. But Anderson is patient. His own son is flying B-17 seconds over Germany. These boys in front of him are someone's sons too. Enemy or not, they're here. And cattle don't care about politics. Within weeks, something magical happens. The Germans take to ranching like they were born to it. Maybe it's their military discipline. Maybe it's their engineering minds appreciating the logistics of moving cattle. Maybe it's just that working with animals is honest in a way that war never was. Human Eric Schmidt becomes Anderson's best horseman. He can rope, brand, and doctor cattle with the best of them. At night, he sketches the landscape. Mesa at sunset, longhorns against the sky, cowboys and Germans working side by side. Images that would be impossible anywhere else in the world. In 1943, Sunday morning within the camps, German prisoners hold their own religious services. Lutheran ministers, Catholic priests among the POWs lead worship. The American military provides hymnals, religious materials, freedom of religion, even for enemies. Some camps arrange special permits for prisoners to attend local churches on holidays. Christmas 1944. A handful of German POWs sit in the back pews of an American church. The hymn is Silent Night, originally sung in German. They know every word. By the third verse, some are crying, not from sadness, from the shock of being treated as human beings in an enemy land. December 23, 1944. Camp Papago Park, Arizona. 25 U-boat sailors have been digging for 3 months. Their tunnel stretches 178 feet beyond the fence. Tonight, they escape. The plan is brilliant in its stupidity. Float down the Salt River to Mexico. Live free until Germany wins the war. They've built a collapsible boat, studied maps, saved food. Everything is ready. Captain Littman Hansa Kraus leads the way. They emerge in the Arizona desert under a full moon. Freedom. They run toward the river and stop. The Salt River is dry, bone dry. Not a drop of water, just sand and rocks. The maps were from 1880. Before the dams, before irrigation. Their boat is useless, their plan is dead. They scatter into the desert. Within hours, they're lost. The Arizona desert in December is freezing at night, burning during the day. They have no water, no real food, no idea where they are. Untraitor Johann Kramer stumbles into a gas station near Phoenix. He's been free for 3 days. He's sunburned, dehydrated, hallucinating. The attendant, an old man named Pete, gives him water, makes him a sandwich, then calls the authorities. While they wait, Pete shares his coffee, tells Kramer about his own son in the Pacific, 2 father's sons, one lost in the desert, one lost in a war. Captain Jürgen Buttenberg makes it furthest all the way to downtown Phoenix. He's sitting in Van Buren Street on January 28th when a street cleaner notices his accent. The police find him exhausted, homesick, ready to return. Even escaped, America is still America. Abundant, comfortable, impossible to hate. Spring 1945. The war in Europe is ending. In the camps, the mood shifts. Letters from home stop coming. Cities are rubble. Families are scattered or dead. What is there to go back to? Thomas Anderson makes an offer to his German cowboys. He wishes they could stay, work the ranch. He'd sponsor them if he could. The pay would be good, $100 a month plus room and board, more than they'd make in Germany if Germany still existed. But the Geneva Convention is clear. Prisoners must be repatriated, no exceptions, they must go home. But home to what? Soviet occupation, rubble, starvation. Ranchers across Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona write to their congressmen. These aren't just prisoners anymore. They're neighbors, friends, the best workers they've ever had. But the law is the law. May 8, 1945. V-Day. Germany surrenders. In Camp Herne, the prisoners listen to the radio in silence. Their country is gone. The Third Reich that was supposed to last 1,000 years lasted 12. Everything they fought for is ash. But something else has been born in these camps, on these ranches, in these churches. Understanding, friendship, a different future than anyone imagined. That night, John Davidson brings a bottle of whiskey to the camp. Good bourbon, pre-war. He shares it with Wilhelm Miller and the Germans who've worked his fields. They drink to the end of war, to the dead on all sides, to whatever comes next. Miller tells him through an interpreter who's no longer needed that he wants to come back when he can, if he can. America has shown him something Germany never did. That strength doesn't require cruelty. That power doesn't demand hatred, that enemies can become friends over cotton fields and cattle drives. The repatriation begins in 1946. Trains reverse their journey east to the ports, ships to Europe, back to a destroyed nation. But the Germans carry something with them. Knowledge, not military secrets, something more powerful. They know how Americans farm, how they organize, how they work. They've seen American abundance and understand it's not magic. It's methods, machinery, management, things that can be learned, copied, adapted. More importantly, they know Americans, not the propaganda caricatures. Real Americans, Thomas Anderson teaching them to ride, Rosa Martinez ladling extra stew, John Davidson shaking their hands, Pete giving water to an escaped prisoner. When they tell these stories in Germany, no one believes them. Americans treating prisoners better than Germany treated its own soldiers. Impossible. Paying them wages, teaching them skills, sharing their churches. Fantasy. But the evidence is overwhelming. 425,000 German POWs worked American farms from 1943 to 1946. They harvested millions of dollars in crops, picked cotton by the ton, saved entire harvests that would have rotted. The American agricultural miracle that fed the Allied war effort. German prisoners helped make it possible. By 1950, something remarkable happens. Immigration laws change. Former prisoners can return $5,000. They board ships in Hamburg and Bremen, not as prisoners this time, as immigrants, seeking the America they found in captivity. A former Africa Corps sergeant returns to Texas in 1951. John Davidson is waiting at the station. Same handshake, stronger grip. No translator needed now. His English is perfect. Texas accented. He sounds like a cowboy. He marries a local girl, opens a machine shop, fixes tractors and farm equipment. His son will go to Texas A&M, study agriculture. His grandson will serve in Afghanistan, U.S. Army, 82nd Airborne. The transformation is complete. Another returns to Arizona. Thomas Anderson has work waiting for him. The best horseman he ever trained. Eventually, this man buys his own ranch, 500 acres near Tucson, raises quarter horses, wins prizes at state fairs. His neighbors know his story. They don't care. In Arizona, you're judged by how you work, not where you're from. Even one of the Papago Park escapees returns legally, opens a small business in Phoenix, not far from where he was captured. The irony isn't lost on anyone. Decades later, former POWs return to visit the camps. They bring photo albums, young men in Wehrmacht uniforms, learning to pick cotton, learning to rope cattle, learning that their enemies were human. At one reunion, an elderly rancher stands to speak. His voice is weaker, but his message is clear. You boys came here as enemies. You left as friends. You came back as family. That's the American way. That's the cowboy way. That's the human way. The applause goes on for 5 minutes. Former enemies embracing, not a dry eye in the room. The numbers tell one story. 425,000 German POWs, 700 camps across 46 states, millions of dollars in agricultural labor, 5,000 eventually returning as immigrants. But the real story isn't in the statistics, it's in the transformations. Nazi soldiers becoming Texas cowboys, enemies becoming neighbors, hatred dissolved by hospitality. Propaganda shattered by simple human kindness. The Germans expected American barbarism. They found American abundance. Not just material abundance, abundance of spirit. The confidence of a nation so secure it could afford to be generous to its enemies, so strong it could show mercy. In his final letter from Camp Milan, one prisoner of war wrote to his mother, "The Americans are cowboys," just like Goebbels said, but he never told us cowboys could be kind. He never told us they would share their food, their skills, their humanity. He never told us they would teach us to ride horses and repair tractors. He never told us they would shake our hands. He never told us the truth about anything. The truth was simpler and more profound than any propaganda. In the American West, German prisoners of war discovered something that transcended nationality, ideology, and war itself. They discovered that enemies are just strangers you haven't worked beside yet, that hatred can't survive a harvest, that humanity is stronger than any uniform. They came as warriors of the Third Reich. They left as cowboys. And in the dust of Texas cotton fields, the mesa shadows of New Mexico, the desert sun of Arizona, they learned the most dangerous lesson possible for a totalitarian ideology. They learned that their enemies were human and that they were too.